Everyone wants that. At least most people do. But it doesn't mean you can't coexist with others and share experiences. Hi, everyone. Those words were sent to me from a guy that was trying to convince me that I should still spend time with him, even though him and I were definitely not looking for the same things. I had just told him that I wanted I'm looking for a serious relationship. I'm committing to making sure I spend time with people that's the potential of where it could go. Something fun, connected, deeper, someone who wants to build something with me and shows up for me on a regular basis. And he was none of those things. Except for the fun part. And so I was like, no, I'm not spending time with you. And he was saying, well, at least most people want that, but it doesn't mean you can't coexist with others. He was making assumptions that because I said no to hanging out with him, that I'm not hanging out with other people, but that's not the case. I'm choosing to spend time with guys that are more in line with what I'm looking for, so I'm not wasting my time. And the reason that I'm bringing this up right now is because I really needed to find the exact wording of what he said, because it made me realize that I am really making sure that I don't go into my old patterns of the way I used to live my life. And the way I used to live my life, it didn't dawn on me till years later that even though the term didn't exist back then, I was being gaslit a lot by guys that I was in relationships with. But when I really think about it, it's because I was gaslighting myself. Like, I was not believing in my own memories, in my own desires of what I wanted. When I would see things and observe what was happening, I would pretend it didn't happen, all in favor of that person, and all in favor of, because I was scared of confrontation. I didn't want to think badly about someone else, so I had ended up convincing myself that I was the wrongdoer. I was doing all the things wrong. And no surprise that I was connecting with guys that were gaslighting me in the first place, because I was putting out an energy that was like, hey, pick me, pick me. I could easily be gaslit. Let's do this, because the law of attraction is not a lie. It's a real thing. But I didn't know back then that this was happening. So I know this term gaslighting can be thrown around a lot, and people look at it in very different ways. So I'm going to share with you a definition that I saw on the internet that I really love. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse where a person causes someone to question their sanity, memories, or perception of reality. People who experience gaslighting may feel confused, anxious, or unable to trust themselves. So, like I said, I can remember times where I was in situations where I was just blocking my own memories in favor of what someone else believed what was happening, or wanted me to believe what was happening, and especially when they wanted me to believe that I was the one that I was the one in the wrong. I was actually in a relationship quite a few years ago when, again, this term gaslighting wasn't around, but where the person I was in a relationship with, I was living with for almost 2 years, like a year and a half. He had his own business. He, had his own ideas. He was older than me. And so there was this air of he knew what he was doing, and we had said that we were in a relationship. So I made an assumption that if I'm in a relationship with someone, that I need to really stand by them and really support what they're doing and how they're doing it. And somewhere along the line, I must have learned from old patterning, from seeing family members or culture or whatever, that me as a woman, that meant that I like somehow don't speak up for my needs. So this is what was happening in this relationship. I wasn't speaking up for things that I felt really uncomfortable with. The way he would speak to other women, the way that I felt like he was being kind of secretive about things, and also questioning when I felt uncomfortable about some people that he was working with, especially women, he would start making me feel like I was very insecure, and this is just my insecurity. And because he worked with a lot of Hollywood stars and big name people, that it must be me that's the problem. And I started believing it. I was being gaslit, but then I started gaslighting myself to the point where I read years later, like this was many years ago that this happened. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I read in my journal how his brother and his family and other family members had told me that he was dating someone already when him and I were dating. Like, his brother actually told me this, and I blanked it out. Like, as if, no, that couldn't be possible. We're in a relationship. How could he be in another relationship? Like, the first time I met his brother, this is what he told me. And maybe I created this story in my head that him and his brother are rivals or whatever, but that wasn't the case. It was just the truth that a lot of people were trying to tell me and warn me, including his family members. But because him and I had said we were in a relationship, and I felt like I should believe him, and I was insecure about so many things, I started really buying into that all of this must be my insecurity, to the point where I felt really uncomfortable about someone he was working with, and I was trying to explain to him why, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I just felt like she wasn't very honest, and I could feel it in my gut, and he felt again that I was being insecure. And in the end, she actually took off with his whole business. Like, she sabotaged the business and literally took all the things and all the files and everything and ran with it. Almost literally. And it made me realize that I not only was with someone that was not being respectful of me and my opinion and honoring me and trusting me, but he was also trying to force this way of thinking that made me not trust myself even more. Like, really buy into that. And like I said, years later, I'm reading in my journal, and I was like, oh my God, I knew from the beginning. But I didn't want to know. Like, it's like I was gaslighting myself, trying to trick myself into like, no, that's not a real memory. That didn't really happen. And it got to the point where I was getting emails from an ex, and this partner that I had at the time, through a whole bunch of like crazy, I don't even know exactly the source of it, but that he convinced me that I was the one that was being unfaithful to him. Like, the partner that I was with was, by the end of it, made me feel like I was being completely like cheating on him and lying and doing all these things. And yes, an ex was writing to me, and I wasn't talking to him like, oh yeah, we should get together or anything. It was just like trying to be comforting, which I know that can be like an emotional betrayal, and I totally own up to that. But the partner that I was with was doing a lot more, like, there was a lot of real cheating, a lot of real, yeah, it was kind of like that was just me thinking that I was being a good friend to someone who was in my past. But what my partner at the time was actually doing was not friendly, not respectful, not considerate, and really manipulative, and very much gaslighting. And to the point where, in the end, I started believing that I was the one that did all the wrong things. It took me so long to realize that I wasn't the one that was in the wrong. And I'm not saying I was perfect, and I definitely am admitting to having all these insecurities that drew in this perfect partner for me to be in line with my insecurities, because he just brought that out more and made me believe more in my insecurities. But the reason I bring this up right now is not because I'm dwelling on the past, but these words that this guy texted me just recently, it doesn't mean you can't coexist with others and share experiences. Of course not. But actually, I have coexisted with others and shared experiences that I do believe things happen for a reason, but I wish that I had not wasted that time on the wrong people, the wrong experiences. And I have a right to coexist with who I choose to. And now that I'm smarter and more in line with my values and being able to speak up for what I'm not okay with and what I definitely desire and what I need, I am not going to waste 1 minute on someone that is a shared experience that doesn't work with what I want. And this can go so far, not just in our dating and romantic lives, but I started, once I went through that relationship that ended up making me feel like my memories and my, what does it say here? Like, it makes you feel confused, anxious, unable to trust yourself. So I wasn't trusting myself at all. And then I got into dance. So I got out of that relationship, got into dance. And of course, one of the, the big relationship that I attracted at that time was with one of the most manipulative guys who, this time, we weren't even officially like saying we were in a relationship. It was just assumed between both of us, the way that he would talk to me, the way that I would talk to him and spend time with him. And I ignored everything. Like, I gaslit myself. I would see him with someone and then question him about it, but then he would convince me that I was just imagining things, and I just started like agreeing with him and believing him, because I had already had this background of not trusting myself, of gaslighting myself. So hey, why don't I keep doing it? And then it can continue outside of your romantic relationships, because I'm in an apartment that has toxicity in it, and I end up getting really sick, and like really my life, my health totally being jeopardized. And the landlords and managers were like making me feel like, oh, you're making it up, it's all in your head. And I was like experiencing extreme health issues, and all my things damaged, I had to get rid of everything. And I still started like wasting time buying into other people's views and starting to question my own intuition, and gaslighting myself. Like, they were gaslighting me, telling me I was making it up and I shouldn't trust myself because it's not real. They even told other tenants and other people around them that it was made up, but it wasn't. And I was so in the habit of believing other people over myself because I didn't want to believe badly about other people. I didn't want to believe that other people would put me in that kind of situation, that I continued to gaslight myself until I realized it was a matter of life and death, and I needed to stand up for myself and do something, get out of there and say what I needed to say. And so this is a continuation of making sure I say what I want to say. Yes, there are people out there that might not want exactly what we want, and we might have some good times with them or not. But our time is the most precious commodity that we have. And I have wasted a lot of it on people that didn't want me to trust myself, who really made it so that I would live into my insecurities that I had at the time. And now I am releasing those insecurities one by one, hundreds by hundreds. And I wanted to share this with you because gaslighting, yes, someone else can do it to you, but it can also start becoming something that you do to yourself unless you pull yourself out, look at it, look at what's happening, start trusting in yourself, trust your intuition, get body connected. And again, one of the best things that I did, like the irony is that relationship in dance that made me not trust myself and question things and gaslight myself, the reason I was able to come out of it and learn from it and not get so sucked in was because I had dance to teach me how to connect to my body, how to listen to my body, how to trust in myself, how to trust in my intuition. And that has been a savior for me in so many different areas of my life. So no, I'm not going to say yes to someone who says, well, let's just coexist and share experiences, even though we don't want the same things. No, thank you. There are billions of people out there that do want the same things as me. And like this guy even said, everyone wants that. At least most people do. Well, if they do, yay for me, because I'm going to go and find one. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you all soon.